Now I'll give you an example. One of the OGDs which we require when we import, for example, but Jagat Bhai mentioned that we import from a brand called Ching's Secret, and they have a type of noodles called egg Hakka noodles. It has eggs in that. Now eggs fall under a regulation that yes, you need to have a APHIS permit for import of anything which is having eggs in that. APHIS is a agricultural permit basically, which I require from USDA, United States Department of Agriculture. And if I do not have that permit as an importer, I cannot import that noodles. If they bring it in the border or the port, it will be rejected and refused. So for bringing that thing with my permit, I need veterinary certificate from a government body in India. So the exporter, Chings, has to give us a veterinary certification for that these eggs were cage free and this and that whole certification is being sent along with the documents. For then I give it to our customs broker who does the customs clearance, and then the cargo is released. And then commodity specific requirements could be there. I mean, that once you go into details of what you want to export, you can find out, and everything is crystal clear. And these days, like, Google is the best dictionary available in the world. So you can definitely get to know a lot of information about your product line in specific. Meat specific, commodity specific, and OGD requirement, which I just spoke about. Import duty, fees and taxes. Yes. So here, everyone who wants to export a particular item, they should be aware about the harmonized tariff schedule, which is the HTS, or in India, they sometimes called HS code also. So HTS code is same as HS code. So you definitely need to really find out as to which HTS tariff schedule your product falls into, and accordingly the importer will pay the duty on that product. Now, a wrong declaration, if found out, can result into a lot of penalties and even refusal of the imports of that particular item or the product. So determining the correct harmonized tariff schedule is very, very important for exporter and the importer both together. Next slide, please. This is a regulation which the government of US started a few years back, which is called the import security filing. The people, I hear that a couple of companies are already exporting to the US. So this is a prerequisite before even the cargo is loaded onto the vessel. There are 10 data elements which needs to be fulfilled: seller's name, buyer's name, the port of discharge or the port of loading. There are 10 different things. These are all, it can be discussed. I can provide you later on because it will otherwise drag the conversation too long. But this 10 plus 2 is, there are 10 items which we have to submit before 24 hours before actually the vessel is loaded. The cargo is being loaded on the vessel. And the 2 additional data elements to be submitted no later than 24 hours before the arrival onto any US port. So this, if this is not met, is considered to be a violation. And this violation can result into a penalty of $5,000, which is kind of specified. But I have heard that people have been penalized more because they've done everything wrong. So it's very, very important that your customs, the importer has to file this. So you have to provide all the details through your CFA to the importer, and importer can file directly, or importer can use their customs broker to file this 10 plus 2 import security filing. So please make sure that no export is made and not being informed well in advance to your buyer. Otherwise, he will end up into a problem and penalties and money, and obviously then there will be a rift between you and the importer, because somebody will have to bell the cat if there is anything wrong. So this is a very, very vital element which the government of US has introduced, and we have to fulfill that requirements. Next slide, please. Inspections. So again, coming back to quality or production, upgrading the production facility. Yes, it is important that you hire an, a US approved inspection agency, or maybe there are inspection agency which are approved by all the countries, and let them have periodic inspections. You have audit reports by their inspections, which is going to help you to make sure that you export the right products, and if there is any inquiry or any question, you have the reports to support that. So it will, these inspections are definitely going to help you to even upgrade your technology, because having inspected your premises or the plant, they will come out that this particular process is missing on that. I'll give you an example of wheat flour. Um, we were importing wheat flour from General Mills, India, and Pillsbury brand of flour was in India, and we were importing the brand called Sujata. We had an issue of the bugs in the flour uh, in 6 months of arrival of the product. And General Mills, being a huge US based company, a huge organization, they were alarmed by this. So they called a private inspection agency who are experts on this flour business. And they were flown in to India from US, and they inspected the plant, and they found out that there is a process called entolation was missing in the whole manufacturing of the wheat flour, which is that entolation process actually kills the larva and pupa at the time of manufacturing by blowing the flour very hard on a metal surface, and everything is killed, and then the flour is taken out and it's packed. So the flour, the life of the flour without any infestation can be at least 12 months into a country like US or Canada. So they, after the inspection, they came to know that this is required. So this helps us you upgrading your technology whenever you do this kind of inspections. And it will also avoid if there is any contamination or any kind of wrong usage of a raw material. You will always find that this is not supposed to be used. As far as exports to US is concerned, we have to use this particular metal or this particular chemical to manufacture this particular item. So this is very, very vital. Next slide, please. Quality control, yes. And I'm sure that all of you are into business for such a long time. So you definitely follow certain quality control standards, and you have SOPs in place and well-defined QCs in place. So that should be there as far as export to US is concerned. Process control is also equally important, because the reason is if you do not have proper process control, you will not have uniformity of your products being supplied. And that is one very, very important thing which an importer in the US is always careful about. I need exactly the same product which I imported a year ago. I don't want any variation, because any variation which occurs over here at the consumer end or the user end, that will spoil the whole business of the importer or the distributor who is distributing the products over here. So yes, process control is very, very important. Control on the final product packaging. So the packaging should be such that it is not breaking the product, having any kind of spillage or leakage, and you are giving the product the way it came out of your factory. If you are exporting furniture, for example, and if you pack the furniture parts in such a way, because you have to understand that there'll be repeated handling of the cargo once it leaves your factory. So at that particular point of time, if the leakage, spillage, or the breakage occurs at the time of receiving, the buyer is going to refuse, or there will be a kind of a problem going between you and the buyer, and you have to kind of compensate the buyer for the breakage. So we don't want all these things to happen. So it's very important that you have a control over your final packaging, which is going to be seaworthy, export worthy for the US markets, which is, as I said, the longest journey your product can ever take is from India to the US. Next slide, please. Certifications and permits. These are more required for the food products, pharmaceuticals, anything which is applied to the skin, either on the face or on the hands, like cosmetics we were talking about. So all these needs certifications and permits at the back end. So you need to certify your products with a standard certifying agency which is recognized in the US, and you should have the required permits to do that. And obviously the other side also needs required permits to buy that, to take that. Now, for example, we were importing red chili powder, and that needs an ETO, which is ethylene oxide sterilization, because otherwise the chili powder does not remain stable, and that deteriorates, and it really affects the whole the consumption, people who are using that. Same way, when people are exporting fruits and mangoes from India, they need to have a gamma radiation certification. So gamma radiation, a certain dosage of gamma radiation uh, diminishes the eruption of stone weevils, which is very, very common in the Indian fruits, and they do not want to contaminate the fruits or the vegetation in the US. So gamma radiation is required anything which is imported out of India. Uh, Exporter, as an exporter, I would request you to please make sure that your importer has required permits of for whatever you want to export. The reason is, if he just imports and he says that you did not guide me, I mean, it will be again a war between the two of you, and at the end of the day, the business will suffer. So it is important that the normally importer would know what are the permits required for importing, because at the end of the day, anyone who is an importer of record in the US is responsible for any problem which occurs with the product. You as an exporter, you will be out of it. But then you will perhaps break the relationship with them, because they will encounter a problem and they say, we do not want to come back to you at all. So please make sure that they have the required import permits. For example, again, going back to the food part, the canned products, like we have the mango pulp coming from India, rasgulla, gulab jamun, and those kind of thing coming out from India on tin cans. Now, for tin cans, there is the FCE registration is required, the Food Canning Establishment registration, and they need to have an SID number, which is a submissions identifier. Now, that number doesn't exist, then they can refuse and reject, and they either you have to destroy that cargo or send it back to India, which is way too expensive. So it's very, very important that you follow that kind of requirements, and you have your FCE registration and the SID number. We had a problem. One of the importers from where we imported the mango pulp, and to be frank with you, at that point of time, we ourselves were not aware that the company does not have an SID number. We did not even bother to check. And when our forwarder, our clearing and forwarding agent, asked for an SID number, we asked the company, and they say, "Oh, we don't have an SID." And for in that particular case, the whole cargo was rejected, and they say that we need an SID number, otherwise we cannot release the consignment, and this cargo had to be diverted to some other country, and that's about it. So these are some of the things which one we have to really take care of. Next slide, please. Import alert, the automatic detention and prohibited products. So again, the import alerts are mainly by FDA, which is the Food and Drug Administration. So they put an import alert, or do not enter list, because the products appear to have been adulterated or misbranded. You are selling something and branding as something, so it's called misbranding, and or they are not at all approved. In our food business, again, a product which is very, very common in India, the pan parag, is not allowed in the US unless and until you sneak it into the US. That's a different story, which we are not talking about over here. So legitimate import of pan parag is not allowed over here. So that's kind of thing that they are on import alert, and they are on detention. So they are not to be refused, but they will be detained. They will be checked. For example, basmati rice imported from India, not the South Indian idli rice, or the Sona Masuri rice, or those kind of, the basmati rice, because there is a khapra beetle issue in India, and that they do not want in US, because that khapra beetle, any live pupa or larva inside the product can destroy the US crop like anything. So they do not want that. So there, every basmati rice container is detained and examined. It's going for a testing, and then once it is cleared of khapra beetle, then we still get a khapra beetle certification, no khapra beetles from India, but still it is on a detention. So it is an automatic detention. Same thing is with like papads, for example. Years ago, papads were banned in the US. Actually, not banned, but automatic detention. The only reason is we manufacture that papads and dry it outside in our yard, in the factory yard or something like that, which attracts a lot of dust, human hair, rat hairs, or all these things, and they detected this the filth element in the papads, and the papad has been decided as a category which is on complete automatic detention. So even now the papads are made in 100% air conditioned environment. The drying is done on machines. This need to be examined before they are entering for distributors warehouse to sell. So these are some of the import alerts and the automatic detention and prohibited products list. Food colors are also one of them. As far as the textiles, as far as the electronics goods are concerned, there is no such import alerts unless and until these products have been found to be hazardous to use. It can really cause problem to the user, or the factory who's going to use it. So there is nothing like that as an import alert. But yes, you can certainly find out when you dig into your line of products. You will be able to come to know, I mean, you will be coming to know about what's not allowed in your range of products. Next slide, please. Export regulation and tax laws. Obviously, I'm pretty sure that all of you will definitely know about what's the export regulations in India, what is not to be exported out of India. And obviously, you will not do that. But it's just one of the slides which I wanted to kind of just bring it to your notice, that you should have a proper knowledge of the Indian tax laws. And most importantly, there are a lot of benefits for doing an export, either in terms of getting a import license, duty-free import license, or those kind of things. You should know that well, which will help you to not only to improve your bottom line, but also to be competitive. Because when you export, you need to be highly competitive as far as the pricing is concerned, so that you are able to stand competition against the other country suppliers to the US. Next slide, please. Banking and finance. Yes, it's very important to know what kind of documentations can be used for negotiation for business in the US. We have common one which is available in India, like DA, DP at site, direct documents to the importers, or documents through bank against irrevocable LCs and bank guarantees, etc. So yes, so this is, it's all your prerogative as to what kind of relationship you want to have. But these needs to be again properly examined, because as an exporter you don't want to end up into an issue of not getting paid. So it's very, very important that you decide and design that terms with your buyer. It is always good to obtain an ECGC, which is an Export Credit Guarantee Corporation certification or a cover on importers. Based on the Dun and Bradstreet standing of my company or any other company, ECGC gives a cover. So if you, for a reason, you have supplied to me on DA 90 days and I fail to pay to you, then obviously I'll be blacklisted as an importer, but you will be paid your money by ECGC. So that's the kind of an insurance ECGC is offering. So I'm pretty sure you guys are aware about that. Currency rates fluctuate constantly, so you have to continuously be aware about, because you are manufacturing in India in Indian rupees. So make sure that you completely monitor that all the time, and make your prices change to remain competitive, and also see that your bottom line is not affected. Next slide, please. Identifying the distribution partners. This is one of the most important vital elements of success into the US. Because if you do not have a right distributor, a right importer, or a right model to distribute, you can definitely ruin your chances to be a good exporter, or your particular brand if you're trying to position over here. So there are various distribution models in place. It's called a master distribution model, who will be one distributor, who will be importers and distributor, and he will be distributing to through in the entire US country. Is a huge country of 50 states, by using regional distributors who are regionalized, and they take care of the markets. And the second one is, you as an exporter, or a manufacturer exporter, you have multiple distributors in different regions, which again you will have to monitor. See, 10 of them or 12 of them, you have to monitor all of them. And that sometimes is difficult because of the time factor, or you have to continuously keep sending your people to attend to the problems which you have occurred with one or two distributors is not performing well. So by far, my this thing in our food business, a master distributor is very important, because they are based in the US. Maximum time difference between the two parts of the US is 3 hours. So they work within that time frame, and they make sure that the other regional distributor performs, or he has a right to change them to bring a performing distributor. So that's the model which you can decide what you want to have. The importer distributor should have proper knowledge or experience of the US markets for your type of product line. So that's very, very important that you choose the right one. They should have a proper market reach, because again, as I mentioned to you, US is huge, it's large, and no one distributor can have his own truck going and delivering from Los Angeles to New Jersey or to Chicago. It has to be through a trucking company, or maybe through another distribution who is regionalized over there, and then they deliver it to the end consumer. It could be a retail store, it could be a institution, or it could be any other outfit. The distributors definitely should have sales and marketing capabilities, and you know the difference between sales and marketing. So not only the sale, but obviously creating demand for your product is very equally important, and that's the marketing capabilities. Competitive products portfolio. So you should also obviously will make sure that he's not um, uh, keeping a products portfolio which is competing with your own product, and then he will have two such things, and then he will not be able to do justice to either one of them, and then you will be chasing him for business, and the business will not come to your expectations. Financial capability is very, very important, that you have to check as to what kind of rating he has, or what kind of credit worthiness he has, because otherwise you will end up into developing a brand, a product in the market, and then you are unable to kind of fulfill because the guy is not able to pay. Last, for the people who are developing their own brands, the distributor back in the US should have the brand building abilities, and not all the distributors do that. They just buy and sell. If you want to do, then you have to choose the right distributor who will understand the philosophy between your brand, and then put it right across and help you to develop the brand to the next level. Because here there are two aspects involved: not only the sale of the product, but it is development of the brand. So today you have one or five products in one brand. uh, Tomorrow you can have 10 more, or 20 more with the same brand, because that brand has got the credibility, and that is being helped you to develop to that level by your distributor. So identifying distribution partners is equally very, very important as far as US is concerned, because it's too large to be, just to be neglected. Next slide, please. This slide gives you a general idea about the United States total population by the year. You can see from 2010 onwards to 2021, there's an increase. It's not a phenomenal increase the way we have the population increase in India, but yes, US population is growing, like 333 million people now in 2021, which means that consumption is growing at a slow pace, but definitely it is growing. So this is the market where things are going to look up only. Every single year, the population has grown, in spite of the very fact that people say that, hey, it has become very expensive to live here. So people have moved from one part of the US to the other part, but they've still been the US because by far it offers a very good lifestyle and a very good place to live without any kind of any hassle or no discrimination even for non-US people who finally turn into becoming US citizens. Next slide, please. Sales and marketing strategy. Again, coming back to what I had said before, you have to develop your own well-defined sales and marketing strategy or strategies, and product pricing. The promotional strategy could be, you have to definitely define a budget for your, say, in-store display if you product to be displayed, point of sale material, samples, below the line activities such as demos or wet sampling in foods, or freebies, discount offers in your product line. So I mean, this is what you have to really design from the beginning, because once you start selling at a certain price, you may not be in a position to increase the price right away, and then all these things are required. Then where are you going to get it from? So you have to do a complete marketing plan of whatever you are trying to position in the US market. Advertising is another part where you really want to make your brand strong. Then there is above the line the media selection, and the right kind of media has to be used for advertising. Obviously you definitely do that, as Jagat Bhai is bringing the delegation here, so participation in the trade shows, road shows, exhibitions and stuff like that. So that is where you have to divide or devise your own marketing and sales strategy before you want to really jump into the market as big as US. Next slide, please. The shipping part. So again, you guys have been exporting to Middle East and other countries. I heard from you guys. So it's appointing a CFA, the clearing and forwarding agent, you must be definitely having. If people who have not done it, you should have one CFA who would help you to kind of identify the shipping lines, the schedules, and all other documentation which are required. It is very important to choose the right shipping line, because what happens that sometimes that I'm dealing with a company where we get the products which are like DDP, what do you call, door delivery pricing. So they pay for the shipping and everything, and in the process they use the cheapest shipping line, and which is kind of detrimental to the passage time, the clearance time, or their clout in terms of docking into the port and stuff like that. So as I speak, it is very important that you choose the right shipping line which can bring your product within the defined time frame. Before pandemic, the time frame for the East Coast is somewhere around 28 days from India, the sea shipment, and to the West Coast is 45 days. Things have changed dramatically in the last 2 years, and the 28 days have become 40 days, 45 days, and this has gone to 90 days, the West Coast. So it's different right now, but we are thinking that things will improve by end of this year. Stuffing of the container again is very important, because you have to maximize the space available if you are sending an FCL. LTL, less than a container load, LCLs is not a problem. But if you are selling as a container, the stuffing is a very, very important part, and you maximize the space available so that the freight either to you or to the importer is divided into a larger volume. So that's important. Shipping conditions, many times, like for example, if you are exporting your products onto wooden pallets, then those wooden pallets need to be fumigated and certified for the fumigation done, because otherwise the US port will not allow those pallets to be entered unless they are plastic pallets. So this is some of the regulation which you should know, and if you're knowing, it's well and good, but you must check your containers which are coming into your facility to load are without any kind of damages or holes, because I had a container with a hole and it came via sea, and there could be like severe rains in the sea, this thing, and the entire stuff inside one part of our container was wet. So I mean, obviously we filed the claim because we had a marine insurance, so we filed the claim, but then it was a nightmare of a situation to get this claim settled, and everything was in a mess, and we did not get the product which we wanted to sell. So these things can happen. So please make sure that the container which you bring into stuff is properly examined, checked. If it is a food product being shipped out, it needs to be fumigated and a fumigation certificate to be provided to the importer. Next slide, please. Some of the key pointers I'll quickly browse through for the regulatory compliance, quality and regulatory compliance. Establish a strong and sustainable quality management system. Focus on end-to-end quality of the product supply chain, from like resources, material quality, production, storage, shipping, and distribution. So you have to make sure that every aspect is being taken care of properly. And you as a leader, I'm very proud that you guys are entrepreneurs and you're trying to do something. And I always want to encourage entrepreneurs, because that's the way to go. That's the way India needs more and more entrepreneurs to make the country the way it is. And today we have a great leadership in India who is always looking to expand Indian operations in different parts of the world. And you are kind of, I would say, the linking pins for that. And you kind of really have the strong management and leadership qualities within you and your organization to kind of flourish and develop the exports of India. Uh, Establish organizational structures, roles to meet, and I mean, these are all the management part of the thing. But I'm just quickly browsing through that, and you can certainly, I mean, ask me if you need any more further inputs, because I have been trained in India in management school, and that's how, I mean, I've tried to work wherever have gone and developed the management structures and stuff like that. Um, Latest trade and financial regulations, as we discussed, should be aware about it. Formalized system of certifications, ISO, or for the food, HACCP, or all these kind of certifications are going to help you if you can get those. Next slide, please. Ensure production sites are well designed, in good state of repair. Prevention of cross contamination during the entire product life cycle. Responsive about customer feedback, which is, again, I find that the Indian supplier sometimes becomes offensive when a correct feedback is being thrown into him. No, हमारा तो product ऐसा था ही नहीं. I mean, it's not that the US importer or the distributor wants to complain to you, but he gets a complaint from the end consumer, and then he kind of passes on to you. So it is very important that you take proper feedback from your customers, so that and act responsibly to mitigate that kind of a problem, or to make sure that it doesn't repeat. Action programs, quality compliance issues. So there are various FDA alerts and everything. So you should be aware about it. Maybe you have your importer can keep guiding you. These are the new laws. For example, in the food industry, again, I'm continuously going on back because I'm in that industry, is FSVP, which is Foreign Supplier Verification Program, which was instituted 3 years back, but it was never put into action. Now they are putting into action. So I have to verify as an importer every single product manufactured or imported by me, and I have to verify that supplier. And how to verify? I have to make sure that they follow the right principles, the right certifications, right audits they are having the plant. Otherwise, they are going to put the products on import alert. So I had got 2 FSVP inspection in my office, and then I furnished all the details about those products which they had put on question, and it came out to be good, and my inspection was closed. And they said, now next time we are going to select another set of products, so you have to be very clear about all these paperwork which are needed, the hazard analysis or the biochemical analysis. All these things are required in the food industry. For the other industries, there are lesser requirements, but certainly there are requirements. So in the food industry, again, there are allergies, so we have to be very much this thing. And the labeling in the food industry is very, very important. So allergies, as I was mentioning to you, US needs allergen information on every single, after the nutritional facts is put on the back of the pack, they need the allergen information, because they need to know this is manufactured in the facility where nuts were manufactured, or peanuts were manufactured, or peanuts were used, something like that. So those allergy informations are very critical and important. um, Packaging, again, tamper evident is a better option. uh, People should not be bringing or exporting the products into packaging which can be opened, tested, and again put back, or opened, one part is taken and the is put back. So it should be tamper evident. Once it is tampered, it cannot be, it will be out, not for sale from the shelves. Establishing a knowledge management program. Ignorance of laws and rules will not exempt you from anything. So you need to have your own internal training programs for your own people, that would really help you to develop an organization, and whatever your ideas will be inculcated into your next levels, and so on and so forth. And you always have to maintain strong relationship with your distributors and your suppliers. So your distributors very important, because they are the people who are facing the brunt of your product, your manufacturing into this part of the world. So your relationship with them, understanding their problems and solving their problems, will definitely lead to a relationship which will lead to a bigger business. Next slide, please. So now I think I have covered most of the parts of this discussions. If you have any questions, if you have any item specific questions, we can deal with it later on by an email. My presentation ends with my the note which has my email address, which is jayj@nijainternational.com. So you are most welcome to send me an email, or you can send an email to Jagat, and Jagat Bhai can definitely pass it on to me, and we can help you to solve, or identify, or help you with any of your problems. I'm sure you guys were not bored by what I talked about, and it was a really kind of a useful exchange of information, or sharing of my experience with you guys. Thank you.
Excellent, Jay Bhai. This was like very mesmerizing. There was not even a minute when you know, I was actually watching this thing on my phone because my screen was full of the PPT. So there was not even 1 minute that my attention went somewhere else. And I am
Thank you
someone
so
whose
much.
attention keeps going everywhere, but I was completely focused. So amazing. I mean, uh, I have done a lot of work in US market. So every word which you said is absolutely on the dot. Absolutely. This nobody other than who is himself an importer can talk. I mean, this is like the real grassroots. And I mean, we are all very lucky friends that we got this exposure. And please feel free to ask your questions in brief.
Uh,
So, yeah. And you can
I'll
raise
go.
your hand. You can raise your hand, which is there in the center of your, and then I will ask you to ask your question. Yeah, please, Abhinavji.
Uh, uh, so, Jay, thank you very much for such an insightful presentation. Uh, I wanted to know that in your industry and according to your experience, could you please let me know what do you think a product is missing, which, if I as a startup would like to, apart from like we manufacture electrical products, but apart from that, if I wish to enter into US market, so what do you think we have a scope for? Anything new which people are looking for, which we can start with?
Yes, it's a very nice question. And actually speaking, US is one of the adventurous market, I would put it. Here, I have seen people trying new things. So, a lot of innovative products. If you go to the US Amazon page, or the sellers page, you will find some of the items which are kind of amazing items people are developing back in China, Indonesia, India, and they are bringing it over here, and they are selling via Amazon. So, very good thing. This definitely, because I do not know your line of expertise of what you really can manufacture, but yes, if you can bring in into your product line any innovative stuff which you feel that this is kind of brand new from your end, and this doesn't exist in the world, I think US is the market which will try that, because a lot of adventurous people live here. People,
Right.
the per capita income and the ease of for anyone to buy anything is better in this part of the world. So that way people don't care about trying a new item, so how much it would cost. So I mean, that way, please come out with something which is very innovative in your line of business, and certainly you will be in a good place in the US.
So,
Yeah, one moment.
could you please
Yeah,
specify any
Abhinav,
such product?
Abhinav, Abhinav, I'll come back to you.
Okay, Jagat. Yeah.
Yeah. So Manik Vani has asked a question in the chat. Uh, any particular certifications or approvals required for eco-friendly and biodegradable food packaging products?
Yes. So again, the requirement, because the food packaging products, again, because you are putting the food into that, or if I think I heard that they are also manufacturing the cups, paper cups for uh, like using for liquids and the sodas, or some drinks. So obviously it is going to connect with the food. So there will be an FDA requirement for what kind of paper you are using, because I have, in the past when I was in Madurai for the Vibrant Tamil Nadu, I met manufacturers who are manufacturing this biodegradable crockery from areca leaves, so I mean that certainly is acceptable because it is coming from the bark of the tree. Paper is certainly more acceptable, but yes, the only thing is, you will have to have your facility having an FDA registration number, which is very simple. You can go to FDA site and you can register your facility, and then you have to have one US importer who would be in touch with you, because in this application you need to have one US importer who will say that yes, I am interested to work with this company, or I am working with this company. So the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, is the one which will come into play as far as anything which is related to either not exactly the food, but you're storing the food inside the packaging. So that's what it is. Yes.
Thank you. So Sunil Patel has a question. Uh, Plywood pellets allowed without fumigation?
I will have to really check on that, but basically anything wording wood, I think needs to be fumigated, because plywood again will have to be justified to the CBP, the Customs and Border Protection, that this does not take any kind of infestation, or there is no bugs or any kind of wood bugs inside this thing, because plywood definitely is a manufactured wood rather than the actual wood from the tree. So I don't think there could be a requirement, but we have to really justify that. And I can check, Sunil bhai, for on your behalf, and find out whether plywood pallets can be acceptable. Only thing you will have to take into consideration is the cost, because the cost of pallet should not be too much, which will increase the total cost of your products. So I don't know about the plywood pallet costing, but I hear that the wood pallets in India are way expensive and very expensive. So and particularly when you to get a fumigated one. So please study that part. I can check on your behalf whether plywood pallets can be acceptable.
Yeah, thank you. So Shubham has a question. Is there a way to help US importers with private labeling? Because
Sure.
Shubham is in packaging. Yeah.
Perfectly fine. Actually, I have one of the factories in India, in Ahmedabad, I work with, and they do private labeling for our brand called Munchmore. So yes, big potential for private labeling in India, because India offers definitely now very good product quality, packaging, and definitely the price part. So I would say yes to your question. I mean, it's really, if you can do private labeling on some of the items which people require in India, in the US, sorry, uh, you are in the game.
Thank you. So, uh, How could I? So Yogesh has a question. How could I? Once I finish all questions in chat, I will come back to each one of you again who have raised hand. So Yogesh has a question, or you can write it in the chat also. How could I find out distributors or stockists of valves, industrial valves?
Yeah, as I said, the best dictionary available is Google, but uh, the another important thing is your forwarding agent. The in the US, if you have the right custom broker, they deal with all the industries. They import granite from India, or the marble from India, and they import food products, they import everything. So they could be one of the people like to guide you as to who could be your right partner for your kind of product line. But yes, certainly you can Google that out. And we have a group of friends over here into different industries, and I can check on your behalf. Please send me an email about what is your exact product line. If you have a product catalog being developed, just email that to me, and I'll put it into my circulation over here and help you as much as I can from my end.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, sir.
I have put Jay Bhai's email ID in the chat. You can copy it.
Yes,
So
sir.
Prashant Sagar has a question. For food products, do we need to get US FDA or USDA approval from India as an exporter, or the importer needs to get the approval on their end?
You need to get an FDA number one, and once you have the number, you could be having a FDA inspection. There are US FDA's appointed bodies, or they have got their US American people stationed over there. They would come for an evaluation of your facility. And yes uh, but yes, secondly, if nothing of that said happens and you have an FDA number and nobody inspects, then you will have to send the packaging designs, the samples, and the nutritional facts and everything to your importer. And importer will have to run through an FDA's there are consultants over here, or they can run directly through FDA, and they can give you a go ahead as to what is really required. But as you are in the food industry, I may be able to help you out if you have any specific questions. So yes, but you should have a FDA registration, facility registration on the. It's very simple. Go to the FDA site and then register your food facility. But if you are not having anyone to kind of import, you have to find someone who would be importing your products, and then they would need to enter their address and details about who is the importer, and that has to be renewed every single year. There is no charge for that. It's free. But once they come for inspection, there will be a charge for inspection, and they will inspect and they will certify you that you are good to go for export to the US. But as I was mentioning to you, this FSVP, which is a foreign supplier verification program, which has come into place very recently, uh, the importer has to do, and you will have to provide to him all the various analysis of your production capacities, the certifications, the audit reports, and everything. So that is very important for them to allow you to be an exporter of food products from India to the US.
Okay, very good, wonderful. And one question is from Vinita. What are your views regarding FMCG industry of India? How well they can target the US market?
Yeah, FMCG industry, I mean, basically, already India is doing a lot of exports to the US. So, I mean, the potential, yeah, good question. I'll tell you the FMCG product total imports from India constitute only 1.5 to 1.6% of the total US consumption, which means over 98% of the market is open for us. It's a huge potential. And I would want young guys like you to venture into US, have that kind of mindset that you would not leave this and do it, because it is not a cakewalk, but it is not difficult as well. You have to really sustain And sustenance is very important. I was talking to Jagat Bhai before the presentation that in Gujarati we have a proverb called Hajar Divas. Means you have to be ready to wait for that first 1,000 days of doing something new. If you are able to sustain those 1,000 days, the 1,001st day is your successful day, and you will never look back. My
Yes.
experience. Take it from me.
True. Absolutely. Thank you. Wonderful. Abhinavji, you had a second question.
Yeah, I was asking Jay sir that could you please specify? Actually, I'm asking this question in concern because uh, I personally really wish to start something new, and US being one of the potential markets. So, like the आपने जो बताया कि there's a scope for innovation, of course, everywhere. So, any specific industry or a product which is coming up with a good scope in the US market?
One thing which I have heard in course of my business meetings over here, handmade products gain lot of importance in the US now. People prefer handmade products. Same way in the food business, the healthier products. People are looking for better health, low diabetic, low glycemic index items. Same way, if you are into textile business, for example, then the hand embroidery and those kind of the tie and dye of Rajasthan, and those type of things are gaining grounds in terms of the US fashion scenario is concerned over here. So these are some of the things which I, in course of my business meetings with some other business people over here, I have come across. So as I said, come out with a uh, either a totally ethnic Indian idea which you can bring into the US in a very polished way, and you are in.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
So Abhiraj Shah has a question. I understand that you focus directly with food OEMs. What are the prospects of aggregating and bundling market available products and exporting it from India?
There are, I think, I've not numbered them, but there are over 1,000 merchant exporters already from India. And those merchant exporters bundle up all these different kinds of products, which are food and non-food. You know, the Ramdev Baba's Patanjali is coming from various sources. Same way, there are so many other products which are, there is no brand representation in the US, and they are all bundled up, and the merchant exporters are shipping it to the US. This is going to be difficult when this FSVP is going to be in full force, because the food compliance, the officers who come to me, they are telling me that they do not want anything which is not being certified by the importer to be brought into the US market, and it will be very difficult. But yes, right now is a huge potential for bundling up, because if you have the right resources to procure those products at a price which certainly the US importer can easily buy from you, you have immense potential. I mean, you can certainly become a star export house for the US market very soon.
Thank you. Wonderful. So Nitya Devi is asking, we are a non-basmati rice manufacturers, and apart from FDA, do we need phytosanitary certificate for US export?
Yes, you need phytosanitary certificate for export of rice. So that certainly is a prerequisite. And other than that, there is no other certification being asked for, because there is no khapra beetle issue as far as the South Indian rices are concerned. So they have been cleared without any objections with the regular certifications which we have. So go ahead, and you have a good market. There are many players. There are many US brands which make the idli rice and the poni rice and the matta rice in the South India, Sona Masuri rice in their own brands. And there are brands from India which are coming into this market and selling. So there is a big potential, because certainly, I mean, this is consumed by the people from India, but this rice, what you are bringing in, the idli rice, is very similar to the other rices which bring brought into the US, like jasmine rice, which is a huge market. So far, no Indian company has been able to position the South Indian rice, which is also called surti kolam in Gujarat, which is extremely similar to jasmine rice, because jasmine rice, you can't beat their pricing. So if you are able to farm your rice at a very good pricing, and you are able to position that, certainly you can enter that mainstream market with that. And that is a huge potential.
Hmm.
98.2% market is open for us.
Right.
Thanks a
Thank
lot,
you.
sir.
Yeah. So Anuja has a question. Any good exhibitions you would recommend to participate in US for cosmetics and wellness products?
uh, I was going to let her know before. Beauty America is one of them. She should take part into. Uh, that is held every year, so she can find out when is the next one. And there are some other exhibitions related to perfume industry, basically, and which is where even the herbal skincare products and stuff like that can also go. So they are held in Miami, Florida, and stuff. So I can look into those more of them, and I'll definitely support her. But she should look into the Beauty America, which is one of the exhibitions for all these kind of cosmetic and perfume products.
Very good. Thank you. So yeah, Vinuta, you have a question?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Jay, sir. It was really good and very inspiring. I have a couple of questions. First one is, how is the B2B and B2C market of specialized FMCG goods like moringa powder, spirulina, and neem powder, turmeric, and all that, all of it organic? And I'm aware that nutraceutical companies are researching on organic spirulina to be included in their protein supplement. So how good is the market there in US? Will they be encouraged to buy from India? Having said that, China has got issues with their export with regard to these products.
No, it's a good question, and my company deals with one of the brands which we didn't mention. It's Vedic, and it's a Vedic Care actually, and that has all these powders in that, and we are getting imported into the US, and there is definitely a good market. Initially, the market started with the Indians, but people having, as I said, Google being the best teacher to everybody, the people in the US, the white people and the Chinese and the other Asian people who have settled over here, they have Googled and they have found out the usefulness of using moringa powder or neem powder or karela powder or spirulina, and even the mulethi, which is the licorice powders. So we have now a gamut of powders available in the US market, but still, I think there is a huge potential which is still untapped, and I think mainstream is the way to go, because right now these powders are available into Indian ethnic stores across the US. Indian ethnic stores meaning Indian, Pakistani, Sri Lankan, and Middle Eastern stores. So, the mainstream presence is minimal, and this really, I mean, are a way to go, because they are all either organic or either herbal based or Ayurvedic based, and they do not have any side effects whatsoever. Unfortunately, you cannot put a claim. Unfortunately, the FDA does not allow you to have a claim of health benefit on the product. It just helps you to have a better health. It does not cure. So you cannot have a label saying that this cures diabetes or this cures stomach ache or any kind of collicular pain or stuff like that. So this is one thing we have to be very careful in when you are wording your product. Even your advertising should not be stating that, because that would not be acceptable in the US. But yes, this, what you are talking about, has huge potential. Please send me details about what you do, and maybe we can link up somewhere.
Sure, I'll do that. And the other question that I
Vinuta,
had
I'll
was,
come back to you. Vinuta, I'll
yes,
come
sir.
back. So yeah, Nidhi from Tanzania has a question.
Yeah, thank you, sir. It was quite inspiring, and listening to you for almost now 1 hour, and it's just opening so many questions and threads in our mind. So just a few minutes back, you mentioned that US is gaining momentum with handmade embroideries and all, and since I'm into handmade embroideries, I would like to ask you, since you've been talking about so many stringent checks and things like that, keeping the packaging and all of that, and keeping the checks of the quality. Uh, in our line of business, and of course the conditions of working, and since you are an Indian, these things are not done in a format of an office and all. So how would you suggest us? Number one, I would have 2 to 3 questions. One, how would you suggest us to bring the whole package so that it doesn't look like how you said, the working conditions of the people from where they are coming on. Of course, if I portray all of that, that's the truth. But if I portray this to the market, some people do not want to know what is the process, who are the people, what are the faces, and all of that. But how do we package our handloom industry, hand embroidery industry, into something which is quite appealing, plus it has the true story? Number two, what are the certificates, or what are the ways you think we can become more stronger to show our the transparency of the business, and how do we go about it?
So she's
Yeah,
into
I
the
mean,
chicken curry handwork, textiles. Yeah. Yeah.
yes.
Please.
No, I mean, see, particularly when it is coming from a handloom industry or people who are making by hands, I mean, the stringency levels are not there. And particularly for textiles, there are, other than the care labeling, there is nothing which is kind of stopping any bringing in of any kind of textile product from India. Why I said handmade? Because India has not been able to compete so far with China on the processed products, the machine processed fabrics and stuff like that. China has been leading. Only thing which kind of now India is doing is bringing in some of the value added products in textiles, which is what you are doing, embroidery, or in Gujarati we call the abla work. Those kind of things are now coming into fashion as far as the US apparels are concerned, and people want to have those kind of fabrics to do. So as far as packaging is concerned, you need to have a presentation. Packaging could be in your regular the Indian takas or like that, whatever way you are doing. So that should be okay according to me. I'm not an expert on the textiles, but I can just let you know. But the presentation, how you present your product, how you catalog your product, that is going to define the interest in the US buyers. I have a very dear friend of mine, ex from Ahmedabad. He's into fabrics business. I can definitely pass on your information to him, and maybe he could be interested in working with you and be an import. He imports a lot of products, a lot of fabrics from India and other countries as well into the US. So I would say you have a great chance to be into the market with proper presentation. Make a nice presenting catalog and write the truth that this is made by village ladies and handmade work, and you are giving employment to people who are kind of not even educated well. So I mean, if that is the case, people like to listen to that, and people want to support that kind of venture. So I think please go ahead.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jai Bhai. Yeah, Nirav Bhai, Nirav Singh has a question. Nirav Bhai, you have to unmute. Can't hear you, Nirav Bhai. Yeah, okay. Vinuta, you were asking something?
Yeah. After speaking to you, I got a couple of more questions to ask you. First one is, what do they use the finished products, or do they just require powder? Do they look for tablets, or any other supplements, like you get spirulina chickies here, and then spirulina, trail bars and all that. So do they prefer that kind of a product, finished one, or do they prefer to go with the powder itself, the base?
uh, Between the powders and the other things you mentioned, the tablets are more in vogue because they do not have to measure the proportion to consume. They have to either take one tablet or two tablets. So even in these, the neem and these other kind of category, Brahmi and Sitopaladi and Shatavari and all these, we are now getting tablets, and those tablets are more in vogue than the powder compared to that. So that's one thing. And the second thing about the granola bars which you talked about, made out of spirulina or other kind of healthy products, yes, but those the Indian companies tried out have not been successful because there are giant companies in the US who make these kind of granola bars. So the best alternative would be becoming a co-packing unit for these big brands which are already established, because to have a brand in the US is not very simple. It is very, very time consuming, and it is very, very expensive. So people who have already made the brand, they always look out for some innovative manufacturers across the globe. And if you can represent your company well, and if they come and inspect and they do their due diligence with your organization, your facility, then you could be their like contract manufacturing unit for them, so that's there. But tablets, yes, are more in vogue compared to the powders.
Good, thank you. So, Mr. Suchre, you want to, Jyoti Suchre is with us. She could not introduce, she came late. Yeah, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, Jai Bhai, this is Rupang. Does the name strike to you?
Absolutely. I was talking to Jagat Bhai, and
Yeah.
I was not remembering your name. And when he said Jyoti Sachde, and I said Sachde in perfume business because I know her husband. And I actually, now that you said Rupang, now I know you very well.
Yeah.
So, Jagat Bhai, congratulations and thank you for getting the right person in this group
Yes.
today,
Yeah.
because Jai Bhai is amongst the best I've known with management skills.
Absolutely.
And
No doubt.
Jai Bhai, thank you for giving us the insight of the US markets.
Hmm.
I have been dealing with US markets. I used to have an office in New York, and whatever you said is absolutely true for every person on this group, whatever business they are in. And I would like to here add something. Somebody had asked a question about beauty exhibitions. So there is one more exhibition besides what Jai Bhai said, and that exhibition is called the ASD which is a variety merchandise show, which happens in Las Vegas twice a year. It happens once in sometime in March, and the other one in September, October. So you can look into this ASD variety merchandise show. That would help, because I have been attending these shows very regularly. So, Jai Bhai, I will personally call you. I don't know if you
For
had your
sure.
dinner now, but if not tonight, then I'll call you tomorrow and we'll have a nice chat. And thank you once again,
Definitely.
Jagat Bhai. I would like to take your leave here because I have some appointment. Yeah. Thank
Pleasure,
you.
pleasure. Thank you.
Nice meeting you, Rupang.
Thank
Pleasure.
Yeah. So Nirav Singh has a question. We have couple of farmer producing organizations producing banana, pomegranate, and mango. We need your advice setting up small scale plants on value added products and then exporting it to US.
Very, I mean, obviously, I mean, bananas and the banana chips is a huge market in the US. And coming from Kerala, coming from different parts of the country, in different flavorings, this is definitely so. If you're in a position to develop your own variety of items based out of these products, which you're already growing, and I mean, there is a big potential in the US. And as I said, banana chips, we also sell in a brand called Japsons. and there are so many other brands from South India. They are bringing in banana chips, and it's a phenomenal business. And so far, the US market, the mainstream market, has not really taken the Indian bananas. They have more of plantains, which are actually bananas only, but the plantains are coming from Philippines and those kind of other countries, and they are already having a place in the US mainstream markets. But yes, with the serious manufacturers or growers and manufacturers like you, we have huge potential to tap this banana market. And the pomegranate, again, the pomegranate juice is pretty well known over here. And if you develop the right quality of the juice with the antioxidants and everything, so it's going to help the entire world, because everybody looks for more antioxidants today. So having said that, you have a huge potential. Come out with the right product line and set up the right manufacturing. Initially, you can go with some contract manufacturing with your products, and then go for your own factories.
Okay, thank you. So Vinuta has a question. Should we get FDA certification for eco-friendly coconut shell charcoal barbecue kit? I don't think barbecue kit will not
I don't
require
think you
FDA.
need an FDA certification, because it's a charcoal kit for barbecuing. So you don't need an FDA certification for that. No.
Is there any other
FDA
certification that we need to
only
do?
only if it is human consumption and or on the body. Yeah, you are saying something, Vinuta?
Yes, sir. Is there any other certification like the FSC, like forest safety, or any other certification that needs to be done?
Is it electrical, this
No,
barbecue?
it's an instant barbecue kit. It's a use and throw kit.
Okay, so I don't think there is any kind of regulation which will control the export of that. You are okay to export.
Okay, and how is the market there, sir, in US? I'm aware that there are other brands that sell there, but I'm not sure on how well the market is, how well the shelf offtakes from the shelves are.
Yeah, I'm not into this business, so I would not be telling you anything offhand. But what I know of the Indian tandoors, the handmade tandoors and the Indian actually tandoors have a good market, particularly in the Indian restaurants. And now some of the mainstream restaurants also carrying Indian tandoors, because they want to make the naans and the Indian flatbreads, they call, into that. So about your kind of product, I do not have much information. So offhand, I will not be able to give you the market potential. But certainly, if we can put your things across to some right people who are dealing into this kind of items, they can be of better help in terms of what is the market potential and how good your product can work over here.
Good, thank you. So Zayed Dolia has a question. Any certificate required to export oil to US? Zayed, which oil?
Yes.
Like edible oil? If it is edible oil, then of course US FDA you will need. Zayed, are you there? Zayed, you have to unmute if you are there and you want to speak. Okay. So, but imagine, assuming it to be edible oil, Jay Bhai. Any
Yes,
certificate
you need
required?
FDA, definitely the certification, and approval, the ingredients list, the labeling of the bottles, everything has to be, and the packaging, the leak proof. In one of my presentations, I mentioned about the leakage, spillage and leakage proof packaging. So these are the musts for any oil exporters. We have like a lot of oil being exported out of Idayam from South India, VVV Anandam from South India, or Tez mustard oil from the west part of India. It's a huge exports to US. So oil exports, yes, you need FDA permission. or approval.
And if it is non-edible, then I don't think required. Non-edible will not be required.
Non-edible oil means, suppose it is a combustible oil, then definitely is a big permission required, because that is considered under a very highly regulated item, because it can it can be inflamed and it can cause hazards. So it comes under the hazardous industry. So the different set of regulations for those kind of,
Right.
like for example, somebody wants to export ammunitions or oils which are combustible oils, then
Right.
there are different kind of regulations for that. FDA is
I
not
mean,
the
FDA will not apply.
Yeah.
FDA will not apply.
no.
Yeah. So Zaid, are you able to unmute and tell which oil you are talking about? Okay, so fine, he's not able to speak, but yeah. So friends, any other questions? There are no more questions. If anybody has a question, please feel free to ask, or in next 2 minutes we'll close. And Jai Bhai, there are so many wonderful
I
comments.
typed a question. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I typed a question in the chat box, sir.
Yeah. So your question is, what are the expos for merchant exporters? So I think every expo in US applies to merchant exporter, because you do everything. But yeah, Jai Bhai, as a merchant exporter, which would be a most ideal expo to attend for Lucky Singh?
There are two shows which happen in the US, which are called fancy food shows. But in that, there are a lot of non-food items also people are exhibiting and doing. So one is it's called a summer fancy food show, which is held in June in New York. And the other one is the winter fancy food show, which is end of this month in San Francisco. So these are two major places where you can definitely have your own booth, and you can do it. And another way to export your group of like bundled products, what you want to do is the Indus Food in India, which just got finished between 8 to 10 of this January. It was there in Greater Noida. I was invited. I was supposed to come because of this pandemic problems going on, I decided to cancel my trip. But yeah, those are the ones which you should exhibit, and you will definitely find a lot of buyers. And if you have the right sourcing out for variety of products, then you could be in the market.
What's your take on AHAR?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hello.
Yeah.
So what's your take on AHAR that's going to happen in March? It's on the lines of Indus only.
Yeah, that is
Again at Delhi.
No, that
Which
must
one?
be the raw material exhibition. The food
Can you
raw
write in the
material.
chat? It's not clear, Lucky.
Okay.
Can you write it?
Okay. Yes, I'll put it on the chat group, sir.
Any other questions, friends? Feel free to ask. We will. Wonderful. So, Jai Bhai, in the chat section, there are so many appreciative comments for you. I didn't read it because I wanted to answer the questions. But, so I will send that, and we will, of course, circulate in the social media. And let me see if I can read one. Yeah.
And I want to express my gratitude, Jagat Bhai, first of all to you for having trusted me and inviting me at this particular esteemed forum, where I find people from various industries, and as I love entrepreneurs, I'm very excited to kind of speak to them about my experiences, and it's a great learning experience for me, from the people who are kind of enthusiastic to develop their own lines and wanting to export to the US. So I mean, this zeal and enthusiasm is what I love, and I really appreciate. And Jagat Bhai, your Global Network Institute is doing a great work in terms of promoting Indian business worldwide. And it's a great service to the country, and our Prime Minister's vision is very well carried out by you. And whatever help you need at any given point of time from me, I will always be available.
Pleasure. Thank you so much, Jaiva. In fact, let me read one comment, which is for all the participants. I will say it's a representative comment. So Nirav Singh has mentioned, very informative session, sir. Now more confident. Now I'm more confident of entering it full-fledged with more preparation. I think this is what we wanted from this session.
Perfect.
Jaiva, you have really fulfilled that purpose so well. And friends, his number, his email ID is already given. I will encourage all of you to connect to him and present your ideas and businesses, and he will do his best to connect you to the right channels. And American market is the ultimate. See, it's a $22 billion economy. India is a $2.9 billion economy. China has become $16 billion economy. But in 1981, China was a smaller economy than India. So they grew because of exports. So exports is the, and that too they grew because of exports to US. Out of almost $2.6 trillion which China exports to the world, 550 billion they export only to US.
US.
And we in India are exporting 60 billion to US. So,
10 times.
That's an indication for us about market. We just need to, follow what all these quality standards, packaging, regulatory part. As an entrepreneur, I worked in China for 6 years, I can tell you, in a Chinese company. As an entrepreneur, there is no match to Indians in the world. Forget China. There's no match as an entrepreneur. Absolutely no match. And only thing is we just need to follow these regulation part. I think we are weak on the regulation and packaging, like Jay Bhai said. The packaging and the presentation part, which China is good at. So if we are able to master that, I mean, and we should also try to target the mainstream American market, like Jay Bhai mentioned. So that those, and people like Jay Bhai are there to help us and support us. So take help. And I'm very confident that many of you will start your operations there. And that will be the day of true Padma Shri. I will say that will be the Padma Shri to Jay Bhai. Right. So excellent. Our Prime Minister has given a slogan of taking Indian economy to $5 trillion. We are right now 2.9 by 2025. That is not possible at all without export. There is no question about it. It is not possible without export. So, it's our national duty, in fact, that we promote exports from India. And once we get our these things in line, it is a market to really look for. Thank you, Jay Bhai. This was so wonderful. And I'm very confident everyone has enjoyed this, and we'll keep in touch, Jay Bhai. And
sure. Thank you so much.
Please feel free to contact him. Thank you.
Please.
Thank you, friends.
Thank you very much.
Those whose sessions are starting from tomorrow, I will message in the group for the next steps. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Vinuta. Vinuta has very good product, Jai Bhai, the barbecue kits.